Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. And to avoid lazy negativity, we've decided to make this episode a drinking game. So anytime you hear us say anything negative at all about each other, about this film, about how Dave's about as romantic as a pair of handcuffs, you're going to hear the sound. That sound means we're taking a drink, and we hope you drink along with us.
So, pour yourselves a glass. We're going to watch a movie whose poster really doesn't scream consent.
Oh, you talking about this one? Right behind me?
John?
No, the other one, where he's got a hold of her and they're both screaming in each other's faces. Yeah.
Pre-show shot.
It's funny. I did have a joke. I started predicting what joke you're going to use from the movie now.
What do you think it was going to be this time?
I didn't get it. I thought it was going to be I'm a corn stepper by instinct.
Corn stepper? Okay, that's good. That's good.
I'm like, Dave, that's got to be it.
Dave, when the random year generator spun 1953, and we decided not to do some of the big ones, which we'll talk about soon. I don't want to prep them too soon, but soon we're going to talk about other movies that came out in 1953. We decided to do The Big Heat. It's John's first Fritz Lang that we're going to be talking about, so you were happy about that. But Dave, you had a joke. I believe your joke that you said 2 weeks ago was you had a joke about accidentally watching the porn, The Big Heat, and you wanted me to ask you about it on air. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, that was it. That was the joke. I can't believe I got you to do that.
Jesus Christ.
Happy Father's Day, by the way, to everybody out there listening.
Yeah.
Kids. And happy Father's Day to JJ Spawn. Not Spawn as in Spawn, S-P-A-W-N, although for Father's Day, that's a good name to have. For winning the US Open Golf Tournament here. So if you're new to our show, we're going to be talking about a film from 1953, because that's what the random year generator spun. And this is our first trip to 1953, so we're going to give you some context what happened in the year 1953. I'll say right now, a lot of shit happened. So if you don't want the context of what was going on in 1953 to help you place this film in the context in which it came out, check the show notes. We keep them very accurate, and you can go ahead and scoot to our conversation, which will be in about a half an hour.
Can you imagine in a few years when we roll 2025? That'll be a fucking hour.
Yeah, what the hell are we going to pick? We should just pick the news and just talk about that.
That's what he's saying. Like, how are we going to give the year context for that shit?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, that's.
Is this really our first year we've done 1953?
Yep, I Googled it and nothing came up.
Wow. So, Dave, how does that make sense? So we always talk about how the years restart after a certain point.
It
we
does.
don't know for sure there's a year that we have not done.
No, but I only generate, I think, 70 at a piece or something. And then we go through the list and then we reset. So we occasionally come up against something we haven't done before.
Well, Dave,
folks, you're learning along with us. Dave produces this entire show entirely alone, so we're just along for the ride. Thank you, David.
So good for you to be such a multi-hyphenate. We do have some sponsors, though, John. Do you want to shout them out?
Sure. Carlos Barroso makes beer. Sometimes he gives it to us. That's Carlos Barroso. See Barroso.beer.
Love the backhanded Carlos.
The handle is in the show notes if you want to give him a follow. We also have a music artist in residence that provides all the music for this episode and every single episode. Their name is Dasein, D-A-S-E-I-N. Dasein. You can find their music available on all the usual music platforms, or you can go into our show notes and follow some links there. But anywhere you listen to music, they are there. Download their music, listen, enjoy. You're welcome.
You can listen. All right. You can listen to Dasein.
I can read it now. Like when the next time Jeff goes to pick up the beer, he's gonna be like, "Oh no, that's just jokes. Dave's still drinking. I'll take it."
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I'm not telling him. For sure, I'm not going to say anything to him. It takes. But you can check out Dasein and John on an episode of Matt and Mark Movie Show talking about Piranha. That's the original Joe Dante Piranha, which if you listen to our last episode, I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. But they're doing a thing where they talk about they're talking about Jaws knockoffs tune. So I did Free Willy, you did Piranha, and Dave, you're going to be there next week talking about what?
Tentacles.
Tentacles.
Whoa. Yeah. Watch out how you say that there, Dave.
Yep. I'll be talking about testicles.
Again, very important for
Tuesday.
Again, very important for Father's Day here. We're having this conversation. We're going to do some gripes. No, wait, John, do you have a mini? I can't remember.
I don't have a mini.
Okay, so no mini. So we're going to do just a little bit of gripes to get drinking. Again, check the show notes. Scoot ahead if you just downloaded this because you want to hear us talk about The Big Heat because you're such a big Criterion fan. Although this is streaming on Did we have to rent it? We had to rent it.
We had to rent
rented it. Did you guys
Yeah,
not
we
rent
rented it. No, I rented it too.
Yeah.
And I do have a gripe about it. I'll say this. I have a gripe later. I have two gripes, but one I'm going to say for the What You've Been Watching segment, which is about series that should be movies, but they decide to make really long scenes instead. To stretch things into series. That's
scenes? Are you kidding? They add fucking episodes to series that should be shorter series.
I've already talked about this with Severance. Severance made me so fucking mad with episodes that could have been an email, like a cold open. An email, yeah. It could have been like a cold open, and instead they gave us a whole episode, and it was like fucking hated Severance because of that this year.
That episode was so fucking hard to watch too, and it was the shortest one, and it felt like the longest.
I'm still fucking mad at. Okay, I'm still fucking. This is not my gripe.
I still haven't seen any of it. Don't
I'm
spoil
still fucking mad about it because. I started the gripe timer because the description that they gave, and I know Dave's always like, it's marketing people, but the description that they gave is secrets are revealed. But the thing is, they didn't tell us shit in that episode. What we found out was stuff that the characters already fucking knew.
Wait.
She already knew that she co-founded the company.
This is the second time you've griped about this. You don't get two gripe timers.
It's not enough. Emmys are coming up. They better not win. It's too bad. I know. And Ben wanted his Emmy so bad. He did 2 outdoor episodes this year. He wants the Emmys so bad. It's not going to happen.
You don't think so?
Fuck no. I think there's enough.
But the studio told us that
the studio is going to win some shit in comedy for sure. But
for sure.
I don't know what's going to win in drama. I have no idea. Maybe I hope what's the one with the kid from the Netflix one with the Oneers? Hopefully that one wins some of that.
Adolescence.
Anyway,
definitely for the limited series, that's probably going to clean up.
Yeah, probably.
All right.
Okay.
I still haven't seen any of season 2 of Severance, so I don't know what you're talking
about. Okay. Anything, John? Any news you want to say before we start griping? A lot happened in the last 2 weeks. Not just politically.
Yeah. Good God. Yeah, I don't even know if we should really talk about that. Have we already mentioned that Warner Bros. Discovery is splitting? I think we did, right?
No, I don't think we did. I think that happened. No. It's been 2 weeks. I think that happened right afterwards.
We mentioned we were expecting it.
Okay.
But
yes,
so
it
is happening.
It's happening.
So the movie studio, HBO, Warner Brothers Television, the Prestige creation arm is. So this is what I've been reading recently. Jeff, I know you've been reading the dailies as well. And, I feel like I've heard this from some other sources too, that it's probably going to be swept up by either private equity or one of the major streamers.
That's why they split
studios.
it. One of them will be swept up by private equity. But HBO, the HBO brand will probably hang on to that. But maybe the catalog will go to private equity. And they put the debt there too. They put all the debt there. So they put the debt onto one of them.
Okay, John, I'm glad you clarified that because I understood that to mean that the entire wing, the Prestige wing, the studio, the movie studio, the television studio, and HBO were going to stay as one entity, and that it by itself, it was going to be acquired very likely by one of the big three or private equity.
So that it can compete with Apple and...
Yes, because it's not making enough money. That's what I read. I don't, you never know if these things are true, folks. We're just repeating shit that's in the dailies, but the trades, excuse me. Anyway, follow along with that story. That is definitely going to just be another domino that is falling amidst all the big changes as you're seeing. For the next 2 to 3 years, we are probably going to see some tectonic shifts as the big 3 or 4 start acquiring all of these places. I don't even think private equity is going to come in and try to compete with them. I think they know, Wall Street knows that they can't compete with them in this industry right now. It's kind of nonsensical. No. So unless somebody is passionate from private equity about trying to do that again, which happened in the 80s, that could happen. But I just don't know why they would choose to compete with the others.
Let me throw something out of left field that's not going to happen, but it could happen. A private equity firm buys it up to compete with them. So somebody like Steve Cohen, who bought the Mets and is just throwing money at the team and he's willing to take the loss because he's got $100 billion, whatever. Like, what if, that's basically what Bezos is doing with everything, right? So, like, what if there is somebody else? I'm not saying it's Zuckerberg, although obviously that's a name that gets bandied around with stuff like this. But, like, what if there's somebody else that has, somebody that you don't even realize has $80 million that's like, fuck it.
Totally.
$80 million.
That would be more interesting, for sure.
It'd have to be someone that's comfortable with a serious loss on their balance sheet regularly.
Remember when Elon Musk bought Twitter and it immediately lost $10 billion and
but he's an idiot.
Okay with that? Needs to call boy
Shit
genius.
Shit is happening in Hollywood for sure.
By the way, we should mention, guys, don't do drugs.
Yeah. Ketamine is bad, okay?
You should watch the videos where they've edited together times where they know he's on drugs and times where he's not. He is so depressed when he's not on drugs. Drugs are no good, guys. Just because you can get a chainsaw and literally go, chainsaw, on stage in front of people, and then when you're not and you're getting interviewed and you look like the most pathetic sourpuss in the world, drugs are bad. They're not good. I just watched the Beach Boys documentary. I'm telling you right now, drugs are bad. Fuck you guys. John, shut up.
Hey, Brian Wilson.
Yeah, but that album he was trying to write after Pet Sounds was fucking weird.
Also, did you guys see, I think it was this week, Muppet Vision 3D at Disney closed for its final show?
No.
On the 70th anniversary, and there's all these clips of people standing outside around the fountain singing Rainbow Connection after the last show. It was it was a really fucking cool moment. But they closed it to replace it by Monsters, Inc. land. I'm like, it's a slightly newer property that made billions quickly and then went away.
Yeah, it went away. Exactly. Like, are they trying to... I think they might do another one, though, right? There's another Monsters.
Yeah, they're probably... Are they beefing up? They getting ready?
Yeah, probably.
Man, that's sad. I didn't grow up. I wasn't at a Disney all the time kid by any means. We went like once or maybe we went twice when I was growing up, but that is definitely that first time we went when I was really little.
Never forget.
That one got me. That was one of the rides entertainment. You know, It's like a 3D thing. You sit down and it spits water on you. It has like all the 3D, 4D elements. That really, and the fountains. It's funny you said that. I remember they were right outside of that.
I remember you used to sing that song called "I'm Standing at the Fountain."
No.
Okay, I want to gripe. My gripe's quick.
Okay,
like I said, I'm gonna save my relevant to a TV and film one for what you've been watching. So you got to stay till the end of this episode, everybody. But Dave, I know you got a real serious gripe. Are you ready to fuck around?
Let's go.
Let's go.
You're first.
I'm first?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, so I got Crown Royal because I was running out of whiskey, and I decided to get Crown Royal. Guys, I know it's Canadian. It wants to like compete. This is first of all, it's Canadian, which is hilarious to me. It's just there's something funny about it trying to be like this upscale like Canadian whiskey, but it comes in a little pouch. It comes in like what it looks like when you get naked, like guys get naked, and you have to put it over your junk on set. Like it looks like that kind of. But look at the actual pouch, though. Yeah, basically. Yeah. This is the actual pouch. We have a YouTube, so you have to see on YouTube. So this is it right here. Why does the Canadian whiskey little cock sleeve for their whiskey look like something I could get at the Aladdin gift shop?
Dude, if that looks like a cocksock to you, what kind of porn are you watching?
I have the 1 minute gripe timer, not you. This thing literally look at these little straps. This literally looks like the magic carpet. Look at it. Come on, see a whole new world with our whiskey in here.
You've ever seen this? Why are you talking about it?
Why does it look like? Oh, they're trying to make it all special because it comes in this little pouch. But look at this little fake velvet magic carpet that you get at a gift shop.
So I played trumpet. I played trumpet very seriously growing up, and the Crown Royale bag is sometimes used.
Did you say Royale?
Yeah, as a mute. You wrap it around and you can pull that tie. And sometimes people use that as a kind of mute.
Does the trumpet get harder to play because it forms a seal?
well, yes, as with all mutes in any kind of wind instrument. Yes,
air will get through it as well sound.
That was a legitimate question.
No. It is a legitimate question. It's a pretty sound, very pretty sound when you put the Crown Royal bag on top. All right. Is that the first time you've ever seen that bag?
No, but why can't I just think about something on the fly and gripe about it? Because now everybody who's seen it is going to be relating to me.
It just seemed brand new. I enjoyed the euphoria you seem to have.
Well, I have to say, I don't usually buy Crown Royal. I don't usually get it automatically gift wrapped in this felt, when I buy my whiskey. I usually just get the bottle and go home.
It is funny that they have not given up on that bag. It's been there forever. There's no way that they're saving money by having that as a part of the purchase. But whatever.
All right, that's my gripe. I have I have a backlog of gripes, but that's where I'm going today.
Let's get on.
Take it away. 1 minute gripe timer.
Okay, so this week, you may know Spaceballs 2 was finally announced, and it's been 28 years or 27 years, and they're getting a lot of the original cast back.
You said this was a serious gripe.
It is, because basically, when someone first announced it, one particular influencer, I think it was on TikTok, they announced that Bill Pullman is reprising his role as President Scourby. Great. He doesn't fucking play President Scourby. Now, every other fucking influencer on TikTok that just copies everyone else, they're all just copying the text saying he's reprising his role as President Scourby. He was fucking Lone Star. He wasn't President Scroob. Mel Brooks was President Scroob.
Of course.
And they're just all copying each other and posting this shit out there, and they all just look like giant dickheads.
So you're telling me they're not experts in their field?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they weren't 28.
Yeah, dude. I mean, they don't watch movies.
But I mean,
far be it do not watch them.
Far be it from me to tell people to do their fucking research, but for fuck's sake.
What's their job to have even newscasters?
It's literally our job as podcasters to tell them to watch the fucking movie before you fucking talk about it.
Guys, this is why we need to support our media. I have a subscription to the New York Times. I have a subscription to the Wall Street Journal, believe it or not, but I get that through a school, and the Atlantic, and the New Yorker. We need to, because what people don't know, what people aren't experts about, they interview experts. If you don't know even if you've worked in finance, like Stephanie Rule for MSNBC, she is going to have a guest on to talk about finance. She's not just going to spew shit at you. TikTok, these people think they're experts on fucking everything.
Yeah, kids,
just because you're an influencer doesn't mean you're an expert.
Experts are people that have actually done this shit.
Let alone everything. Yeah. Yes. Have somebody, if you're an influencer, have somebody on your show who actually knows shit and give them the platform as opposed to just spewing shit you don't know anything about.
We tried it because it was a secret fourth member.
Jazz.
It's not jazz.
Yeah. It's not fucking jazz.
Yeah. I definitely don't want to hear their jazz, by the way.
Generally speaking, let's there's got to be a good
I need a thicker mute over their trumpet
culture.
if they're playing jazz. You know what I mean?
Extra bags.
All right, you guys want to get?
Yep,
you want to
totally
get into it? You want to get?
All right,
yes,
let's
I do.
get into it.
1953.
Okay, there's a lot of facts. I'm going to keep the movie section of this really quick. Okay, so we always start with the box office. The numbers and box office mojo were not friendly to 1953 trivia because it's from so long ago. Who knows if you can actually keep track of the receipts of this? It's probably all mafiosoed anyway. But let's go ahead and stick with Wikipedia here. What do you think was the highest grossing film that came out in the year 1953 was? According to Wikipedia.
Peter Pan.
Very good guess, so I'm not going to buzz you. Dave, fuck.
It came from the desert. No, that's a video game, don't
Fucking.
Can I guess my second guess too, just in case I'm wrong?
Sure.
My second one would be Roman Holiday.
So Roman Holiday's not on the top 10, even though Wikipedia says it made $12 million at the box office. So I feel like that's like a real asterisk. And so I don't know where to put Roman Holiday, which of course made a star out of Audrey Hepburn. Gregory Peck was already a star. And Dalton Trumbo wrote the script, but he wasn't credited because he was blacklisted in 1953. So he was probably fresh on the blacklist. So his buddy, Ian McClellan Hunter, fronted him, meaning he took credit even though he let Dalton Trumbo take all the money and everything. And of course, Dalton Trumbo's name was eventually inserted into this. Yada, 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 yada. Also, the director, Bernard Vorhaus, worked on the film as an assistant director. Sorry, the assistant director worked under a pseudonym as well. Anyway, Roman Holiday probably would be in the top couple films, but for some reason, life's not fair. But no, actually, it still would have lost to the number one movie, which was The Robe. The Robe is a Richard Burton, Gene Simmons film that came out this year. It is an American fictional biblical epic film that tells the story of a Roman military tribune who commands the unit that is responsible for the crucifixion of Jesus. 20th Century Fox. They released it. This is the first
glad
film.
I made that porn joke.
Jesus Christ.
Dave, this is the first film that was released with CinemaScope. The widescreen process CinemaScope. Like early CinemaScope films, The Robe was shot with Henri Chrétien's original hypergonar anamorphic lenses. The film was directed by Henry Coster and produced by Frank Ross. But the first CinemaScope film, so I bet you a lot of people wanted to go like the reason we see Avatar. They wanted to see the newest, greatest thing. And it was, of course, a film about people who prosecuted Jesus. 1953. Remember when people got real Christian in the 50s, except when it came to people who weren't white. Okay, number 2, according to Wikipedia here at the box office. Was From Here to Eternity.
I mean, you're not wrong, but still.
Sure.
Columbia Picture number 2.
From Here to Eternity.
Number 3 would be Shane.
Ah, nice.
I know that guy.
How to Marry a Millionaire came in at number 4. And John, your Peter Pan picture came in at number 5. But again, more about Peter Pan in a second, but you can't trust these numbers. This is actually considered a wildly smashed hit. And the musical Peter Pan came out on Broadway this year starring Mary Martin. So Peter Pan was a big name, and I bet you it made a lot more money than $6 million for that. But
it came out the
according to
same year, the
Yep.
musical and the wow.
Yep,
Weird.
yep. To round out the top 10, you have House of Wax, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, of course.
Yep.
Salome, Mogambo, and Knights of the Round Table. And no, not the song. Don't start singing the song. That's your top 10 from
Let's not go to Camelot. It is a rather silly place.
Or I'll say 11 if you count Roman Holiday, which should be in there somewhere. Let's see. Disney's Peter Pan, we said that was the last live-action Disney film made in partnership with RKO Pictures. Their live actions at the time were coming out. Wait, animated film. Sorry. Animated film. The last animated film made in picture with RKO Pictures. This is the animated Peter Pan, right? Am I going crazy? Animated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So RKO Pictures, this is their last major hit. And so in 1953, they would file bankruptcy. So thank you, Disney, for fucking over RKO Pictures. And in the year 1953 was the first televised live Academy Awards ceremony, which obviously gave a lot of attention to films that came out from the 1952 film year. So our year, 1953, of course, the Oscars would be in 1954, would be the second ever live telecast and drew 43 million viewers live. Man, people didn't have a lot to do.
Hey, I used to tune into them in Australia. So
yeah,
and that was back in the Billy Crystal era.
Yeah,
there were only 3 channels back then.
That also helped.
There's still only 3 channels down there.
Little awards thing before we shout it out. What other movies you want to talk about? From Here to Eternity would go on to win 8 awards on 13 nominations. 8 awards would include Best Picture, Best Director, Fred Zinnemann, Best what else the fuck did it win? Frank Sinatra would win a mob affected Best Supporting Actor, I would say. Have you seen we watched From Here to Eternity, John, and we were like, there's no way Frank Sinatra should win an Oscar for acting. No way. And Donna Reed would also win for Supporting Actress and Best Adapted Screenplay, et cetera, a lot of other things. A couple other things here that happened. Walt Disney, the man, Walt Disney, won 4 Oscars this year. He won for The Alaskan Eskimo, Best Short Documentary. He won for Overture of the Merry Wives of Windsor. No, he did not win for that. Ignore that. He won for Bear Country, which is the Best Short Subject 2 reel. He won Best Short Subject Cartoon for Toot, Whistle, Plunk, and Boom. And then he won Best Documentary Feature for The Living Desert. Walt Disney won 4 Oscars, which would happen again. I forget who else it was. Bong Joon-ho technically only won 3, for those of you who are relevant to now. The International Feature Award is not credited to him, even though he definitely got one. It's credited to the country that it came out in, which was South Korea. And what else? Oh, William Holden's acceptance speech for Best Actor for Stalag 17 was simply thank you, because the broadcast cut to commercial. Well, Holden later personally paid for advertisements in the Hollywood trade publications to thank everyone he had wanted to thank in his speech, remarking that he thought either Burt Lancaster or Montgomery Clift should have won the Oscar for From Here to Eternity instead of him, likely splitting votes. And he expounded backstage on a system he felt valued commercials over program content. But this is a time where apparently NBC, who used to host Oscars every year, would just cut to commercial if your speech was too long, as opposed to music playing you off. And they accidentally did it preemptively here for William Holden for Stalag 17. And Audrey Hepburn would, of course, win Best Actress for Roman Holiday. So your breakout film, you won an Oscar, pretty damn good. John, any movies you want to shout out besides those ones we mentioned?
Definitely Ingmar Bergman's Summer with Monica. Another one that really kind of broke through internationally and definitely started getting America's attention. I think Smiles of a Summer Night was the first time that he was recognized internationally, and I think I went to Cannes that year. And I feel like this is either the same year. Gosh, I could easily look it up. But Summer with Monica got through to the American audiences as well, especially in LA and New York. I like that guy. The Earrings of Madame de. This movie is a film by Max Ophuls. Excuse me, I always fuck his name up. And he is credited. There's so many directors like Paul Thomas Anderson who credit this guy with like proving that there is a way, Spielberg for sure, that there is a way to move the camera so that you can create all your shots without cutting. That's different than a oneer, if you will. They are long takes, but the staging is so unique. And he had such an interesting way of going about working that way. It was certainly budgetary related. He, he came from abroad and he was making films internationally, and then was eventually hired by Hollywood to make some stuff. I recommend watching this movie. It is really something, especially if you're interested in film history, and you're going to see some language created there that we definitely still see from modern people.
I love it.
I was definitely going to mention The Robe, because that has kind of a weird Oscar reputation looking back on it. And it was kind of the big shiny thing that everybody voted for that year, and it doesn't have a great. It doesn't seem to have done as very well as time has moved away from it in terms of its quality, in a prestige category of the best pictures of the Academy Awards each year.
Sure.
I also wanted to mention Ugetsu, a Japanese film that is definitely worth watching. Marlon Brando's not first film. His first film was The Men, but this was probably one of the first films that kind of broke him out.
Well, Streetcar was 51, so
turned him into 51, the monster we know and love today.
The monster.
Well, Streetcar came out, The Men had come out, but The Wild One is the first time that he plays it's a biker movie, which were really popular for like B movies back then.
Right.
And this kind of like brought this rebellious thing mainstream, led by one of the hottest stars of the day. So this is pre-Rebel Without a Cause. And it's worth watching. It is so tiny. It's such an interesting, small little picture. And it just has him at the center of it, leading this, bad boy biker gang. That thing is really, it's worth watching. Again, more for film history than anything else. Julius Caesar, he was in that as well. That is still a good movie. I still think that holds up. That might be my favorite Shakespeare play. I don't think it's his best, but it might be my favorite one. I think that's a good movie.
A lot of great lines that you can quote from it.
Amazing. I mean, Hamlet's definitely the best, but Julius Caesar, like every 5 minutes, there is a line that we still say today colloquially.
The Brutus Cassius scene. The fault of Brutus is not within our stars ourselves. Not with the stars. The fault of Brutus is not in the stars. It's within ourselves that we are underlings. Yes, there you go.
Wonderful, amazing. And then I promise 2 more. Tokyo Story, about the great Ozu. A lot of people think that is his best movie. It's on the top of a lot of people's lists for best movies of all time. Whatever, you don't need to think about that. It's just a really good movie, and it's also a really good Ozu movie if anybody is going to try to start out with his canon. And finally, Clouzot. Is that his name? Georges Clouzot?
Clouzot?
Who made Wages of Fear. We have done Diabolique by him.
Diabolique is so good.
Henri Georges Clouzot. Wages of Fear is fucking awesome. It doesn't matter. It's not about film history or anything. This movie is just good, suspenseful storytelling. William Friedkin basically remade it in the 70s, same year Star Wars came out, 76, with, oh, God damn it. What was the name of that one? Shit. With the guy from Jaws.
Which guy from Jaws?
The
Not
Shaw?
You're talking about Richard Shaw, Robert Shaw?
No.
What do you mean, no? We just said the 2 leads of fucking Jaws.
No.
The mayor?
Not...
You know what?
No.
The shark?
The detective.
Bruce the shark?
The detective.
Oh. The guy from All That Jazz. Yeah. Roy Scheider.
Yes, Roy Schneider. God damn it, what is the name? I'm going to scream it at you guys in just a little bit. Anyway,
Great.
Wages of Fear, absolutely worth watching. This was like we say it every year, there are 4 or 5 like all-stars, time-tested, worth rewatching right now movies. And, we joke about how the older years maybe don't have as many, but I mean, there are like iconic movies that you should definitely check out from this year.
They're hidden in there. We found some of them. That's great.
Hey, come on.
No, I'm serious. I've found some that are actually far too quirky than I gave them credit for. Like they were really on
Sorcerer.
point.
God damn it. Sorcerer is the remake of Wages of Fear from 1977. God.
That's not the first time that's come up this week, I think.
No, it's not. I've mentioned it a few weeks ago.
Not from you either. Like other people talking about it.
For me.
Yeah.
Really great. But Wages of Fear is where that story began, and it's just as good, at least. I wouldn't even, they're both different enough. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Sounds great.
Let's go.
Moving on. Okay, cool. I'm going to try, because there's a lot of shit, so I'm going to try to go pretty quick. So again, if you're exhausted, and I get it, just scoot ahead like 7 minutes, all right? But this is so important because so much fucking shit happened in 1953. Are you ready? Number 1, the Coppertone Girl was introduced to the American public. It's probably the most popular butt crack of all time.
I have no idea
first
what that is.
Look it up. Coppertone Girl. I hope you look it up. Unless you're driving, you should probably wait till you pull over. Okay, the first transistor
I'll wait till
radio
I'm on my
was
corporate
developed.
Wi-Fi at work or something.
The first transistor radio was developed, revolutionizing portable audio technology.
Wow.
Ian Fleming's Casino Royale was introduced, which had James Bond, of course. So this is the beginning of the James Bond series in written form, 1953. Disneyland's design and construction began in L.A. in 1953. I think it was 55 that it was completed. We've done this in a previous episode. It might have been later than that, actually, right?
It's not in L.A. if it's Disneyland, but
Disneyland.
it's not technically in
Are
LA.
you going to be a fucking purist right now and say it's not?
It's like an hour and a half away from LA. It's not.
So is everything else in LA.
Sure.
Fucking hell, John. Right. So if I want to get to Disneyland, I have no idea where to start. If I could fly into LAX, but I don't know because it's not in LA. You fucking ass. Okay. Swanson sold its first TV dinner, changing American eating habits. Swanson had, look at this. This is a good story. I don't know if anybody knew this about Swanson. Swanson had 260 tons of leftover turkey from Thanksgiving and didn't know how to get rid of it. So they asked their workers for ideas of how to get rid of. You think they would just burn it or bury it or something? Nope. One of their workers said, "Why don't you package it into individual trays with sides and freeze it?" I hope that worker made some goddamn money.
Yeah, I hope they got a percentage.
Literally, it was what do you do with leftovers?
Yeah,
right.
They died a janitor.
Yeah.
Like, for
And
sure.
He got a
somebody
pizza
showed
party.
up to their house when he said, "Hey, am I going to get some money?" Somebody showed up to their house that night and said, "This is the name of your kids and wife. If you love them, shut the fuck up."
Yeah.
The Swanson Mafia. Mount Everest was climbed twice in 1 week, a record-breaking feat. It just happened to be the same year that Sir Edmund Hillary was knighted for his achievement of being the first to climb Mount Everest. So big year for Mount Everest in 1953. And man, we've really fucked up commutes to there since. Have you seen those things about people like having panic attacks on the top and then screwing over the 50 people behind them that are trying to get to the summit?
Yeah.
Have you seen that shit? Oh, it's nasty. Look it up. The first Narcotics Anonymous meeting took place in California. Of course, it was in California. The first color television sets became available in the United States. At this time, only 44.7% of American households had a television. In 1950, it was only 9%. So that number went 5x in 3 years. So television blowing up here in 1953.
Yeah.
The end of the Korean War signaled by the armistice, which was signed July 27th, 1953, bringing an end to the 3 years of conflict. Remember when we went to a war right after World War II?
Armistice?
The armistice was signed. Yes. Armistice.
The armistice.
No. It's not Amistad. It's armistice.
Armistice.
You're going to correct everything you say tonight.
Armistice. Fuck everybody. By the way, is anybody listening going, I don't know if I love the pronunciation of that. I don't know what you mean. Is it armistice or armistice? I don't know.
You know we're getting a
What are you
fucking
talking
message now.
God, I hope so. Remember when somebody commented on our show and just said nothing? They just like
I'm sure you're right. I'm sure I'm wrong.
I remember when people commented on our show and said a lot. It was like a fucking essay.
We haven't gotten a hate message in a while. I'm ready for the hate message.
I just
shut up. I like armistice. The development of the polio vaccine happened in 1953 by Dr. Jonas Salk.
Wow.
And
Big
we just
fucking deal. Wow.
It saved a whole lot of lives.
His
but
speech
apparently
was,
it also
"You're
made
welcome,
everybody
fuckers."
autistic, and so we can't do them anymore again. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh my God. Wow. That is huge.
I remember having that.
I love
the whole story about how they got that too. Like, have you ever heard the history of like how they made that vaccine? It's really incredible. Flying back and forth, like spy language back and forth for Russia. Like, trying to,
they said, "How do we make people autistic?" I'm kidding. Fuck everybody that thinks vaccines. Yeah, I know.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, we're in. I'm sorry. Oh, buzzing me.
Yeah.
We're in 2025. We just fired literally the entire vaccine advisory board.
Fucking board. My God.
Good luck, everyone.
Not a single one of them had some good advice about vaccines.
Don't worry. There's people that really check their work on TikTok, so listen to them.
Guys, how fucking funny was that military parade? Tell me it wasn't fucking hilarious. The videos of just silence with the exception of squeaky wheels from the tanks. It's so
Is
pathetic.
that good? I'm not gonna lie, I still haven't seen like any of it. I just didn't see. I didn't watch.
I've seen a clip, but I had the volume down.
Fucking pathetic it is.
Is that because nobody's there?
Yeah, nobody's there. The bleachers are empty. And then and he gave a speech at the end, and there's just grass everywhere.
The one clip I saw was like they're talking about, the people are really like going off with the cheering, and the cameras just cut at this one guy yawning. And that was a film of a TV broadcast.
There's like a 2-minute clip of Trump just looking so sad, and nobody in the bleachers, like all of his family and people close to him, are even talking to anybody else. They're just like sitting there, just like waiting.
Nobody came to my birthday.
Yeah, I wonder if he had seen clips of the other parades that were happening here.
Oh my God.
Anyway, guys, another big thing happened in 1953. Are you ready? The coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. 1953. Guess what?
I mean, awesome.
I feel like I've seen this before, but I didn't sink in. Did you know that Keith Richards was a choir boy at the Queen's coronation?
I believe it.
I can't say
Rolling Stone Keith Richards was a choir boy at the Queen's coronation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that motherfucker's still alive. You read his book Life, right, John?
Odds are he was probably at the crucifixion of Jesus too, but fucking hell.
He actually probably gave Jesus some really good shit that helped him ease the pain, for sure. Moving on,
the best
Eisenhower's
meme
presidential inauguration.
The best meme I've seen about that is they're like, oh, we have to take care of the planet. We need to think of what kind of world we're leaving for Keith Richards.
Oh my God, he's a vampire. You're right.
Yeah.
If drugs didn't kill him
good.
because he's a vampire? He's like he has a better tolerance than Legolas in Lord of the Rings.
That is
okay.
so funny.
Eisenhower's presidential inauguration, of course. Chevrolet introduced the first Corvette in 1953. How about that? The Rosenbergs were executed for espionage in 1953. Remember when espionage was
We do not talk about that enough.
They don't do that anymore.
How many people?
Holy fucking shit. I cannot believe that happened.
Yeah, they give him a press tour.
In America, that was something in the 1700s and before. Espionage, treason was just fucking death all the time.
Yeah.
And then it's crazy. And now we have people who commit treason saying everybody else is committing treason. Anyway.
Yep.
Pump C. Green broke the color barrier for the Boston Red Sox, becoming the team's first black player in a city still considered one of the least hospitable to non-whites.
What an amazing name.
Pump C. Green.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And they're like, we need to fix this. And now they're just inhospitable to fucking everyone.
I love how Jackie Robinson
was he a home run hitter? Is that why they call it the Green Monster? Did he was he a super home run star?
Have you seen the Green Monster?
Yeah.
Then you should know why it's called the Green Monster.
You gotta stop saying that to people in bars.
Like 100 feet tall.
I know it's a giant wall that's green. I'm just saying. I didn't know if he had anything to do with that.
As far as I know, no. But that is a great Pump C. Green. That's pretty great. But that I believe was called the Green. That stadium's like 100-something years old, so I believe it's older than him. The first 3D film was released in 1953. How about that? And guess what? Do you remember which one? It was in our top 10. Which one was it? What was the first 3D film?
House of Wax?
Yes!
There you go.
This motherfucker came in and mentioned 30 films after the 20 that I had already mentioned, and he nailed it.
I remember seeing, was it Treasure of the Four Crowns in 3D back in the 80s? They released that thing. I had more fun watching the guy 2 rows down than I did watching the movie. I could not tell you what the fucking movie is about. But, like, this guy was ducking and weaving or everything.
Dave, for shaming that movie.
Dude, it was hilarious.
Ducking and weaving. What was he on?
Yeah, right? Well, they specialized back then of having stuff, like, come right at your face.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
it's like when you fall asleep at a bachelor party.
What haven't I mentioned in a while on these guys? Are you ready? The Concorde supersonic aircraft proposal took place in 1953, heralding a new aviation. We
do have like a brief history of the Concorde on our podcast.
They're all fragmented, but we can put them together. Yeah. Dave, we need AI. We need AI to go through all of our episodes and put together a timeline of the Concorde just based off of us talking about it in this podcast.
Yeah, the line goes like this.
I am a little sad I never got to ride on that thing. I thought that plane was so
the coolest looking thing, yeah.
It was so awesome. Fucking fast. And the idea that you needed
a fucking Blackbird. Like the
guys, we live in a world
military company
where the military can get across the ocean in like an hour, and I'm about to take a 9-hour fucking flight on Tuesday, which I'm very excited about. How is the Concorde not back? So many, you know what it is? It's because the people who can afford the Concorde fly private anyway.
Yeah. Of course, yeah, their own PJs, yeah.
They're in their PJs. You fucking PJ? You kidding me? You're talking about Succession?
Yeah, so are half the people on the fucking plane.
But what would you rather have? A PJ that takes 9 hours or a Concorde that takes like 2.5? Something to think about with people that can only afford PJs.
Absolutely, the Concorde. Those tickets were so expensive. Even when I was a kid, I remember they were well over $1,000. It was so expensive to fly a Concorde.
For like the coach. I can't imagine what a first class Concorde is. That's the thing. First class Concorde, you might as well fly a PJ.
It was Atlanta. It was the Atlantic Ocean in 4 hours. I mean, it was amazing. You mentioned, God, I hate flying long distances. I totally would have gouged on that shit.
I'm fine with it, but you imagine him like, you're going to go how fast? Okay, your insurance is.
Yeah.
Sure.
DNA structure was discovered in 1953. You know what's funny about this?
Wow.
DNA structure was discovered using stolen X-ray data.
Damn.
Cool. Timely now because life humans finds a way. Which is funny because
so less than 50 years later, the human genome was cracked. So wow, that's crazy.
But if we didn't have stolen material, it might have been an extra couple of years. So think about that with AI making big discoveries. Let's use our AI targetedly. Let's use it for certain things that would be really great.
Yeah,
like in all the Alien movies where it can like heal you really fast, but not take my job. Okay. CIA's Operation Ajax in Iran, 1953. This is the famous covert operation you probably have heard about, but you haven't placed it yet, where the United States reinstalled the Shah of Iran.
Yep. Not good. Countdown to 20 years later.
Yeah, with
that shit went in the fan.
Go ahead and rewatch. What is
Argo.
it? Argo. Rewatch Argo and tell me this is why they hate Americans.
Fuck, that movie's tense.
Okay, but to be fair, women had more rights then than they do now in Iran. Okay, cool. Moving on, because Iran's a tense subject right now.
Yeah, tense situation right now.
The first nonstop transcontinental helicopter flight happened in 1953. Why would I want to fly across the country in a helicopter in 1953? I don't know.
When there's a Concorde. Why would you even...
The Concorde helicopter. If you have a Concorde...
It was proposed. It doesn't exist
I was going to say, here in New York, they can't even fly them 6 fucking blocks.
Did it take 30 years for this fucking flight? Because I remember the Concorde.
Do you think the first slide in their proposal was, this is going to be the coolest plane ever made?
Yeah, of course, ever. The best plane ever. This is technology.
Hey, remember that 9-hour flight? Kiss that goodbye.
Guys, okay, let me just finish this shit. You always wonder why I talk too much about this. No, it's all fucking you. You're to blame for this, even though the shit's great. I
like this part. I just listen.
The United States returned...
And correct your pronunciation.
You drank preemptively. Good for you. Good. The United States returned 382 ships to Germany it had captured during World War II. 382? How fucking awesome were we in Germany? No wonder we were like, fuck it, let's go to Korea. Let's go to Vietnam.
Does anybody else think that's a little soon? Less than 10 years later, I'd be like, that's a little soon. What do you need them for? What do you guys need them for?
Hey, they still can't make nuclear weapons. That's the Norm Macdonald joke, though. It's like, what country I'm worried is Germany. I don't know if you guys are history buffs. And that's really all he has to say. Okay, moving on. Senator John F. Kennedy from Massachusetts married Jackie Bouvier at St. Mary's Roman Catholic Church in Newport, Rhode Island. Guys, all this shit happened in 1953. What a fucking year. The Soviet Union's hydrogen bomb was announced in 1953, and the United States decided that they would cross their red line. They said they weren't going to go from their atomic bomb to a hydrogen bomb, but they decided after they found out the Russians were doing it, well, we got to do one too. So the United States started developing a hydrogen bomb in 1953. Guys, guess what else? The War of the Worlds broadcast happened in 1953. How about that?
Oh, wow.
I always thought it was sooner, but there you go.
It's way sooner. No, wait. It's way sooner. Citizen Kane was made in 1940, released in 41,
You can get mad at the site that I looked at. Okay, moving on. Ray Bradbury wrote a short story.
That is not correct. Yeah, there's no way that's right.
Ray Bradbury in 1951 had written a short story about a giant fire-breathing lizard, which was made into the 1953 film The Beast from 2000 Fathoms. That film inspired Ishiro Honda, a Japanese producer, to make Godzilla in 1954.
Oh, yes. I did not know that came from fucking Bradbury's. But of course. He is the greatest of all time. Well, 1938 radio drama, The War of the Worlds.
Which inspired Godzilla. The top 10 baby names in 1953. I bet you we got a lot of unique names in here. Mary, Linda, Deborah, Patricia, Susan were the female names. And the male names, I bet you can recognize 2 of them. Robert, James, Michael, John, and David.
How about Rayshot?
I recognize Robert.
My dad was born this year, baby.
I don't know if they track Turkish names in these lists here. Songs. I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus. The doggy in the window. Vaya con Dios. So
Gee,
what
Mommy
a
kissed
soft
a lot of things.
fucking year. These people were soft as shit in 1953.
Some
So
bangers coming out.
but you know what-
Punctuation's important too.
Wait. You know what else? You know what else came out this year though? Tony Bennett's Rags to Riches, baby. Come on.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yes. Although if you've listened to it, it's certainly not the instrument that leads into the Goodfellas opening. Okay, we're almost done with this. There were over 15,000 pizzerias in the United States.
Hell yeah.
And we usually do top 10 food trends, but 15,000. It's definitely more now. I'm just going to do some food trends really quick. You ready? Cherries. Bing cherries, 49 cents a pound. 49 cents a pound. That's a lot of cherries. A pound of cherries? That's a lot of cherries. Okay.
I fucking hate cherries.
They're like $6, $7, $8 now. Yeah.
Hershey's Kisses, 25 cents for a 6-ounce package. Burry's Cookies, 3 14-ounce boxes for $1. I think it's a pretty good deal. Duncan Hines Cake Mixes, assorted varieties, are 29 cents for a 19-ounce box. Not good. Could be better. Eggs, 70 cents a dozen. Flounder, 29 cents a pound. Boiled ham, 99 cents a pound. That is ham that is already boiled. 99 cents a pound. Hot dog buns are 19 cents a dozen. You have something to say or no?
I do. I want to ask you guys, when was the last time you ate flounder?
It was about 7 or 8 years ago, yeah.
20 years ago, I went fluke fishing. We went off the coast of New Jersey and we got fluke, which is flounder, of course.
Yeah.
But you know what we caught more than flounder? It was bluefish, which tastes like shit.
Years is the answer, right? You don't eat a lot of flounder, but in 1953.
Yeah, you can get it easy.
It's a very thin.
Give me those 2 eyes on that side,
and
please.
And that's why you don't eat a lot of flounder now, because they ate it all in fucking 1953 because they don't know when to stop.
No. And also kids saw The Little Mermaid growing up. We can't eat flounder.
Yeah, maybe that really did hit the brakes on it. I'm getting a little tipsy. Keep going.
Hot dogs were 49 cents for a 16-ounce package. We got campfire marshmallows for 22 cents for a 16-ounce package. Parquet margarine, 29 cents for a 4-ounce carton. A 4-ounce carton? That's a small-ass carton. Fucking margarine. A leg of lamb was 65 cents a pound. Libby's grape juice, 35 cents. I'm going to move on. Evaporated milk. 2 tall cans of evaporated milk, 25 cents. A gallon of milk was 94 cents. Spam. Dave, this is for you as always.
Oh, yeah.
45 cents for a 12-ounce can. 45 cents. And last
British
but not least,
that eat spam, right?
No, you're British. No, you're spam. And last but not least, white bread is 16 cents for a 16-ounce loaf. That's right. A cent an ounce of white bread. That's the fucking 1953 shit that I have.
How else are you going to eat your
stuff.
Sugar butter sandwiches?
Yeah, right.
If you can't afford your white bread. Oh, boy.
1953. All right. Are you guys ready to talk about our movie?
Let's go.
Please, God.
Please, God. You always do this shit. You guys talk fucking as much as me at this time. And
No. I like listening to it.
Here we go.
If you look at the waveform, most of this is you.
Yeah. You guys give me shit all the time. But
of course, most of it's me. I'm the one who looks all this shit up. Okay.
We're on Mad Mark.
Most of it.
Jeff, you listen to the episode. At some point it came up where Brandon and I were like, they asked us a question. They were like, who's supposed to talk first? And I was I really don't know.
Jeff usually tells us.
I was like, we should probably call Jeff. I don't know. I don't know the structure of the show. I just
now I know.
Says,
if on a Monday I get a call from an unknown number, it's going to be them. But when they called me,
did they actually call you on air? Did that actually happen?
Yeah, but I didn't answer because it came in as an unknown number.
That's funny. I couldn't tell if they were actually doing it or not.
He doesn't have our number saved. He calls all the time.
Him.
Those motherfuckers. That was part of the thing where I went on for the Free Willy episode, which Mark didn't even show up for. Thanks, Mark.
Let's be fair.
It talks about Free Willy. Okay, The Big Heat, 1953, hour 29 minutes. It is a renter, but it's cheap. Guys, just fucking do an Amazon order and get your credit, and then it's basically a free movie. Just do a big Amazon order, and not because you love Amazon, but because they're cheaper.
Free movies.
And the market, I love the market. If they want to be a marketplace, that's great. When they sell our information and then use our information that they're selling to make their own products, while also buying them Washington Post and rat fucking it and manipulating it to their own world and then having Prime Video. Yeah, that gets a little monopoly-like, but it's a great marketplace.
Someone had to stop him. He was spiraling.
Anyway, Lee Marvin has a small role in this. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
But it stars Glenn Ford, Gloria Grahame.
So cool. Yeah.
Jocelyn Brando, which is, the sister of Marlon Brando, who we already mentioned on this show, is Haiti Banyan for a brief moment in this episode. Yada, yada, yada. This film, as we said before, was directed by Fritz Lang. The writer is Sidney Boehm. That's how I say it. Sidney Boehm, based on the William P. McGivern Saturday Evening Post serial, which he made into a novel that came out in this year, 1953. As always, I'm going to read the IMDb description, then send it on around the horn to you knuckleheads to see what you thought, what you felt. No stuffy criticism. What'd you shoot from the gut? Neither of you had seen this before, right?
It's the hip.
You can shoot from the gut. You can shoot from the gut. You can shoot from the gut. It's, hey, if you want to be a father on this Father's Day, you can shoot from the hip, but you can shoot from the gut.
No, you shoot on the gut.
Tough cop Dave Banyan, fucking Dave, man. Everybody's a goddamn Dave back here in 1953. Tough cop Dave Banyan takes on a politically powerful crime syndicate. That's it. It could be fucking Serpico for all you know with that fucking blurb. But basically whodunit noir style, no voiceover though, and fucking Sergeant Dave Banyan, played by Glenn Ford in the lead, trying to figure out what's going on. I watched this a week ago because I thought we were going to do an episode last week and we bumped. So I think I remember the movie really well. But are you two ready to talk about The Big Heat?
Let's go.
Let's do it. Dave or John, who wants to go first?
Dave.
Cool. Yeah, I like this, and it's a really, really good detective story, but I couldn't get past the gratuitous overacting that happens on a regular basis, and it kind of took me away from it.
Is that across the board for you, or
no? It was
across the cast.
Well, it's mostly the women where I'm upset, I'm gonna up the wall, and that sort of thing. The really dramatic turn of their head away and all that sort of shit. And I also hate occasionally some guys fell into that rhythm of dialogue that I really fucking hate from that genre of movies. But the story is great. And I enjoyed that part of the film, but I didn't enjoy some of the overacting.
Yeah, I'm buzzing you for that. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, keeping it short and succinct as always here at the top.
Also, every time they said Lagana, my brain heard lasagna for some reason.
I'm very hungry at the end of this movie for some reason. Yeah.
I also got very hungry.
That absolutely happened to me for a second.
Speaking of food, they ate a lot of steaks. Did they ever eat vegetables?
God, that steak.
Yeah.
That steak she pulled out of that oven, dude.
I was like, holy
crap.
shit. I thought that was just for him.
How many cents a pound?
I didn't say steak. I thought that was just for him. And then it was like, oh, she shared it. Thank God. And then it was potatoes. Did they have a fucking vegetable ever in 1953?
Just that baked potato, baby.
Yeah. They live like I do now.
Yeah, it was a fucking Earl Sinclair steak she pulled out.
Dave.
I did like that there was no preamble at the start of the movie. The inciting incident is in the first 10 seconds.
There's a suicide where the person's wife doesn't seem too sad about it in the first shot of the movie.
Yes.
That's pretty crazy. What a way to open a 1953 film.
All right. I'm going, yeah. So I do like film noir movies quite a bit.
Is this a noir? Would you call this a noir?
Yeah,
sometimes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I still feel like in terms of, when we use that term, there's a lot of different ways that the industry might end up categorizing it because of budget
they
and
love
style.
voiceover. They love voiceovers in noir, and there was none in this, but that's okay.
They do, but that is something that lives usually in noir, but I still feel like it doesn't matter. We'll call it a crime movie from the 50s, but
Blade Runner had theirs taken out, so...
Sure. I really, really enjoy crime movies in general, but I especially enjoy them when there's a little bit of a morality tale inside of it as well. And I thought this one did a really good job. We're also in the hands of a master director. And I did say mistakenly that I had not seen any Lang, which I'm not proud to admit that, but I have seen Metropolis. I don't know why I forgot that, of course, he made very famous, the silent film Metropolis. He made M, which I've never seen. So I just want to point that out because I think it's important whenever you're watching dudes from their generation who cut their teeth in silent cinema. I think you can see the remnants of that kind of storytelling in their movies. There is dialogue, obviously, that's driving some of the story, but the way the camera moves, the way they try to get away with things that are almost, man, Spielberg tries to still get away with this when he can, but showing like a tight insert and then it pulls out to like this wide and then like goes behind somebody, like the way the camera moves to show you different pieces of information. That opening sequence is a perfect example. It starts on a gun, a hand doesn't it open on a gun? And a hand grabs it, and then it goes across a letter, and then it comes up behind him. Yeah. Boom, bang. It stays on him until his widow, who we're about to meet, comes down the stairs. You see the giant clock behind her, so you know it's the middle of the night, or beside her. It's literally like a 2-shot. And you just get, there's a bunch of information just given to you right there. And Dave, I totally agree. Storytelling-wise, script-wise, like, let's just hit it. Let's make the mystery begin immediately. But just the storytelling, it was not lost to me that I felt like I was watching one of the silent masters make a talkie, if you will, which he made plenty of movies after the silent era as well. But this was the first of his that I've seen since the silent era. I love stories, and maybe I think we're softies on this podcast for the good guy fighting against the world. Like we really have responded to some of those movies that are almost that Mr. Rogers-y kind of mentality. What's the one about golf that we love so much?
Phantom of the Open.
Phantom of the Open. What other ones have we watched that have really made us feel that way? There's been 2 or 3 where we've kind of talked about Mr. Chips. Yeah. And so that kind of energy, I'm not saying this guy doesn't have that kind of innocence because, again, you put that time capsule hat on. All of the men that you're seeing on screen fought in World War II. Almost all of them. They're all coming from that generation, which I couldn't stop thinking about. These guys are hard. They're hardened in a different way. So in a world where you do have like crime on one side and, quote, the good guys on the other, which at the beginning of the movie, you're not sure who is good except for him. You think it might literally just be him. I love that. Yeah. I love that this man, they have a character in the center of it who is not like Philip Marlowe. He's not like the Maltese Falcon, that famous detective character that existed in quite a few noirs and detective stories from back then. This guy is a good man. He's not a shady loner on the edges of town that is doing like PI work. He is a good person that is trying to live his life, and he encounters bad every day. And you just see him get pushed further into the corner. And it was so refreshing to know that, like, I felt like I was kind of watching a bit of a superhero, but I'm not saying it was just because he was good at fighting. I felt like I was watching a guy from the jump that I was always certain that he was not going to break. And I knew that it was his morality, his principles that were going to potentially break him.
He was played as a superhero because he decided not to stand up and take it on and didn't realize that it was already all around him and just dug his heels even more. Like he was awesome. He was dressing his captain down. Like,
yeah, I mean, this guy, he is definitely like, he has a true north compass of morality and ethics and his job, right? And I thought it was just really ballsy. For me, I literally said to Elizabeth, I really love that his family life is so much a part of this story. And the minute I said that, there it goes.
Yeah,
and
you knew
things changed for him.
It was so happy that everybody's so happy. And you're like,
something bad's going to happen.
A part of me is like, they're not, and they did. And I was actually a little surprised they went there.
Well, so I guess I'll stop there because I don't want to talk about the details too much. But that's what I think I was so impressed by, and that's that script for sure. I'm sure that came out of the serial writings and the novel that was eventually published, and I'm sure they adapted it well. But that setup I found so interesting. You're introducing me to a good person with a standard criminal mystery that's going on that I'm sure is going to involve politicians and gang lords and all that shit. But at the center of it is a man who you did not know that you were going to poke the bear when you poked a normal person. I think from the outside, this guy probably didn't seem like he was that rogue cop that was going to do whatever it took to hunt down every single person, no matter what happens. But he literally, his family gets torn apart. he pushes his daughter to the side into the arms of other caretakers so that he can do whatever it takes to solve this crime. Yeah. And I was very moved by that. His character made me so fascinated.
I have questions about that later because I want to know. I would be interesting to know if the novel implies what I think it was implied.
Well, okay. I'll give my 2 cents and just say I think it's good, and part of the reason we do the context, even though we get carried away with it sometimes. So to anybody who did skip ahead, go back and especially when John talked about the Ozu films that came out in 1953, one of the best things about Ozu films that came out after World War II is they never talk about the war, but you know that these people are dealing with it because they live in Osaka right after the bomb. Like, you know that everything they do, and sometimes they'll be like, it's after the war. Anyway, I think thinking about this movie as a potential first or as an inspiration helped me with the movie. So whether it's what we talked about, the car, whether it's not the car, with the family, maybe that inspired The Godfather in some way, right? Maybe the detective story where it's this guy, he's smarter than, Dave, you mentioned he dressed down as captain. He's smarter than his captain. He's better at his job than his captain, who is now a politician of sorts. And then his wife has led him on to be like, oh, everything's good unless you want to be chief of police. And so she set this hierarchy in motion. So maybe that helped a lot of future cop movies where it was about trying to get to the next desk, to get to the higher, like maybe in 1953, that's just not something we saw in movies very often as people, especially how many cop and detective tales are there? This guy was he's a very low level sergeant, right? Sergeant is a fancy term, but it's a very low-level person, right? You get captain, and then you get all these other, things until you get to major, and then you get to chief of police. And that is the trajectory that he could be on, but he's not because he's good at his job and he wants to do the good work. So anyway, thinking about it as an inspiration did help me because the story itself might seem kind of simple, but at the same time, it is complicated enough in the way that, like, you don't really know who it's going to be. You don't know who the answer is going to be. You don't know who did it. You don't know what the spiral is, So it can seem generic. It can seem like a lot of these other movies that we've seen, whether it's a noir or just any other detective story. But placing it as an early one, it just makes it seem like, oh my God, I can't believe this was in 1953. And all these other movies that I'm comparing it to actually came out after this. So that was something that really helped me, and I enjoyed it. Because I'm with you, Dave. It can easily be like, this is overacted. Why are they behaving this way? Why is it this? But at the same time, it's also kind of like, but it's actually really well done. And I think that
not everyone was overacting. It was just some of the women characters when they were upset.
But I'm with you because I did wonder if the director or the writer just didn't quite know how to. They were writing a man's story and threw women in, and they just happened. All of a sudden, the women took over the story because the women characters became so important. I mean, one of my favorite line in the movie, not to get ahead of myself, is when you have the girl who's the girlfriend, and she says they're both wearing mink. And she goes, look at us, the mink-coated girls. We're sisters under the mink. Yeah. It's a great line, and it's a great scene, but the characters themselves are overacted because they're the women in the story. So it's like...
No, that scene was great for me.
So maybe they were written supernaturally, but all the guys were written very gruffly and very serious. So maybe that's the writer-director fault.
It didn't happen until things started to get a little dramatic. Because like Mrs. Duncan, the first experience of her, she's immediately played as suspicious. Because she doesn't quite react like a normal person should. They underplay the drama there. And I wonder if like 1940s audiences picked up on that or whether they were just watching the story. Because we're a cynical, suspicious fucking people now. Like we spotted it in a second, but I'm wondering if in the 1940s they were totally blown away.
When jury tales, right? Where they're like... where the families seem like we didn't commit this crime. And you're like, yes, you did. You killed your son. And they're like, why would we kill his son?
Dave, do you think it helped at all that I know what you mean. I know the question you're asking, but do you think I think you're supposed to pick up in that first scene when he's interviewing her because we meet him there. This is also very interesting about the structure of this movie. You don't meet your lead until you've already met 3 other leads.
Yeah.
And you don't know who those 3 people are, and then
like
you
Fargo.
meet the actual protagonist without a grand introduction. He's just a detective that walks in, no big close-ups or elaborate camera moves.
They make it seem like he just happened to be there when the phone call happened, right?
He's just there because he's answering a murder call.
Which comes to the end where he gets another call. Yeah. He answers the call.
So when he's in there, I remember having a wonderful, fun feeling that I thought was actually asking quite a bit of an audience, and maybe I'm wrong. But I didn't know that I was seeing that scene through his eyes yet. And it was kind of fun to ask myself, I wonder if that cop believes her. Because if I'm not believing her, and we know that she's lying about something. Does he believe that she's lying about something yet? So it's kind of fun to play catch up to your protagonist for just a second. Basically, like 2 scenes later, we're on the same page.
I was still back a couple of scenes with the district attorney when he had he's in bed and he had a dude next to him in a dressing gown,
manservant,
and I'm like, is it or isn't? Like, because they. And my wife made an interesting comment. She was like, well, yeah, it's the 1940s, and he's the villain, so they had to portray him as deviant.
Sure.
I'm like,
sure.
Oh, wow, that's weird. But, yeah.
They were cleaner back then. That's a little bit of what I'm talking about with that morality tale. You typically in morality tales, whether it's secondary worlds like Tolkien or we see them in modern storytelling, you usually work with archetypes, right? I mean, that's something that seems to be kind of true with that stuff. So when you're watching these kinds of movies where you probably can stand 100 yards away and within the first scene of introduction to each character say who's who. That's not really the point of these movies, is it? It's usually about watching them play out and see if there's any subversion, if there's something that makes them play out a little bit differently than maybe what you're expecting, or maybe they're just executed really well and they are exactly what they appear to be. And I think for me, again, the thorn in this was our protagonist. And it's not just the role on the page, it was the casting. I thought he was such a unique choice for the good person because he has
Glenn Ford as Sergeant
Glenn
Dave
Ford,
Banyan.
yeah, he has such an intensity to him.
Sergeant Banyan is such a good name. Banyan, it's such
Dave,
a good name.
did you recognize him as he's Clark Kent's dad? He's Pa Kent.
No, I didn't at all.
He's the Superman dad, right? That's
right.
In the OG, Superman's. I don't know. I was so sometimes whenever I get in the weeds writing screenplays, and when I'm talking with anybody about big structural things with storytelling, I go back to Stephen King and I go back to some of my favorite writers and for the screen. And this movie is just such good proof. Like, just follow a character, build your characters around that character, and make sure they get in the way of what that character is trying to achieve. Character.
It's like they turned some wheels with the other guys and then threw him in the grinder. And he was
Honestly,
just trying to navigate.
Yeah, kind of.
And I immediately got excited about watching what happens when a good person, it's how you feel in episode 1 of Game of Thrones. What happens if the king survives in a land of horror, in a land of deviousness, where everything around him isn't what it appears to be, except his tiny little house that was perfect, and then his house gets taken away from him. And then the illusion of the whole family, everything is getting stripped away from him. Is he still going to maintain that thing that you want to believe, and I know it's an archetype, but he absolutely gave me those Gary Cooper silent, subdued, not that he was silent, but that subdued, stoic, very, very aggressive when he needs to be, the strong man doing the right thing. I know that's an archetype, and I know some people do not enjoy watching that anymore.
The other thing but
I found it very cathartic in this
from a
film.
modern audience perspective, you're watching all this stuff happening to him, and you're like, that's happened, and you're waiting for him to snap and hunt him down and kill him. And he just doesn't snap. He bends, but he doesn't snap.
Yeah.
Don't give me a Legally Blonde reference, Dave. Don't you do it.
Huh?
He bends, but he doesn't snap.
Shut the fuck up.
You Legally Blonde motherfuckers.
He goes to the Don's
Legally Blonde
house.
invented it.
Shut up. This guy goes to the Don's house. He's never met this guy. The most powerful man in, by the way, what town? They never said the city, right?
They never said it, no.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
All we know is
city.
it's not Chicago.
Exactly. Some big city.
Yeah.
He goes to the Don's house and just that scene, subversion. There you go. And Dave, you're you're helping me kind of realize why I found it so fascinating. It wasn't that it was like wherever the line got pushed further and further against him, he would step so much far beyond it. For me, that I was like, oh my God, this guy is fearless. Unbelievably shameless and fearless. And that first scene, yes, he chews out his boss. Yes, he has he comes off in each scene as though he's extremely confident. But when that gang leader, the Don, basically says, get the fuck out of my house. His response, and I wish I had the quote in front of me, where he's like, "Why are you going to call my wife?
Isn't he the district attorney?"
No. The first guy he goes to see is he's the gang leader. He's the Don.
And he's throwing a party.
Marvin
and he's throwing a party.
Is the DA.
Lee Marvin's...
Okay.
Wait,
He's a politician.
Lee Marvin's the DA?
Politician.
Stone's the DA?
He's the politician. And I assumed he was a DA or something like that.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter. It's just he's a politician, and the guy at the party he goes to is the mob boss.
Yeah.
Whatever his response was, I'm sure there's a
I love
quote
that.
here.
He knows some mob stuff because he's like impressed. He's like, "You made it into my house. Good for you. Good for you." That's like, I feel like he wasn't scared or nervous. He was just kind of like, "Wow, what are you going to do now?"
He wasn't scared at all. Here's another act of subversion. They did a good job. I believed it. I was like, I can't believe this guy is walking in here. Like, this man is probably going to kill him. And then by the time that scene ends, our protagonist has the upper hand. He beats the shit out of his bodyguard in front of him.
Yeah.
And those two men, the gang lord, Don, who I think kind of respects him by the end of it as well.
Right? Lagana.
They are both like, Lagana. They are both like, we can't fuck with this guy.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? He's not just the cop that always gets his man. He's also not afraid to fight, like physically. He is not afraid of whatever violence we're going to try to intimidate him with. He might actually come back and kill us. This guy, like, we're actually afraid because he's capable physically as well. I just thought that was so fascinating. I was so captivated by it. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm ranting. I was so moved by this character. I thought he was such a great character.
You know what I was moved by? The widow, who it was the widow of. She looks like Frances McDormand, by the way. Tom Duncan's
Jeanette
widow.
Nolan. Her name is Bertha Duncan. Jeanette Nolan is the actress's name.
She got $500 a week, basically in perpetuity, so $26,000 a year in 1953. This is in a world where beer is 35 cents at the Retreat, which is the name of that bar. So the average beer today in New York City is what, $8? So if you think about this, maybe 9, maybe 10, but you're talking, it's 25x, right? So the beer was 35 cents then, now it's 8. That's 25 times more expensive. $500 a week, I feel like I know some people that'd be okay with that. But I would also be okay with taking 25 times that if the inflation of beer has matched the inflation of paying me off so the mob, I won't squeal on the mob. That's $12.5 a week. I'll take $12.5 a week to not talk about my husband any day. That's ridiculous.
Yep. And again, they give you the inside information in the scene between Lee Marvin and, let me learn his name. I'm sorry, Alexander Scourby, who plays Mike Lagana, when they acknowledge, like, yeah, we're going to keep paying her off and let's just fucking pray to God that letter that her husband left never leaves that safe deposit box. So
there's 3 more things that I think 3 more quotes specifically, but quotes/scenes that I think sell this movie as being a good movie, even though it can, again, seem like every other movie we've seen, me questioning whether or not it was an original. Number 1, this quote I think really fucked me up. Prisons are bulging with people who wonder how they got there.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Tell me that's not a good line.
So good.
Second of all, 1953. I know for a fact the first toilet ever shown on TV was on Leave It to Beaver. Looks like a sex crime to me. They just said that like that. Like, oh, this is a sex crime. In a movie where, in a time period where you couldn't even show a fucking toilet on TV. I feel like that was probably really, really bold at the time.
They referred to perverts, remember, and the psychopaths who cut up women with scissors and so.
Again, this is crazy. 1953. Yeah. Last but not least, she asks the widow about their lakeside house, and she gets pissed off at the detectives.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if your husband actually killed himself, and then the detective said, "Can you tell me about your second home?" And you got mad at them for asking about that? I was like, that's such a good human thing to be writing about, because they could easily have said, they could, like, if she was like, "What?" It's like she's immediately guilty. Or if she of course says like, "No, there's nothing wrong there," then it's boring. They fucking threaded that needle where it's like, why is it? We didn't even go to that house. It didn't even fucking matter. The house actually ended up not even mattering. And they just nailed that sweet spot of like, you can't trust anybody in a way that nowadays we know. I still don't know who killed John Benet Ramsey. Was it the son? Was it the dad? Was it an intruder? We have no idea. And it's like, we can't trust anybody. Back in this time period, nothing's cut and dry. This is 53. I feel like movies told you everything you needed to know, and you're watching this movie and you don't know, and I think that's cool.
Yeah.
There's this. I'm glad you reminded me of that because I think I forgot that the tiny little arc of meeting our protagonist. Tell me if you guys remember it differently. That first scene that I was talking about with you, Dave, where he's interviewing her the first time. The second home doesn't come up then. He has the anonymous meeting with the woman who reaches out to him, the barfly.
Who ends up dying. And she's the one who tells him about she
ends up dying, and then it's almost like her death because
she was having dismissed her. She was having the affair in the other house. So
or whatever it was. Remember, she was very specific. Like, no, please don't reduce it to that. That's not actually what our relationship was.
Right.
It doesn't even matter. But again, I thought that was a little bit of fun subversion. It was just 2 lines. And I thought it was more interesting to think that there was a more complicated relationship than just fucking. It wasn't just that, apparently. It forced us to learn more about, he went back to the widow and had another conversation.
Even better, she thought it wasn't that. But then we found out there's been 4 others.
Exactly.
Later as well.
Was really great.
Yeah.
We find out in the next scene right after that, basically, he goes and interviews the widow a second time. And by then, it's not that you don't know he's your protagonist. By then, you've been following him for a couple scenes at that point. You've gone to the police station, that interview, his house, and now we're back for a second interview. But I did like that they were starting to tell me, one, I felt like, oh my God, is this entire movie going to be fueled by his guilt? That's awesome. I haven't seen that in a while. Where I can't remember, I was trying to remember like another noir, another movie where it really was just the guilt of this anonymous prostitute, barfly woman, and her killing that made him feel like, oh my God, there's more to this. I have to do it for her. And I loved it. That was just the pilot light.
Yeah.
That was the initial priming, right? And that made him go back to her. And I got really excited when he asked her about the second home. I thought that was just so, I was like, oh, there's something more interesting here. It's not just emotional now. He's actually trying to just his due diligence. He's trying to actually just do good detective work.
The other thing is like as well, when what we mentioned before, where she thought it was more than that, but it turns out he was doing this all the time. And that's some very good character-based writing because they're writing from the perspective that only the stuff that she knows is what she talks about. So a lot of the decisions in this were very character-based, not story-based decisions, which made a really good fucking mystery because nobody knew all the answers.
Speaking of that,
why did he kill himself?
Yeah.
Speaking of that,
did I miss that?
No. They hint at it, but they never actually come out and say it.
Right? We know that the consequence of his death was a manipulation tactic to make sure that she would get paid.
Right.
Right? His wife, Bertha Duncan.
Because she had to keep that thing secret. Yeah. The suicide note.
It was his suicide note, but I still don't know. And I love it that I don't know if I ever really got the answer. And Dave, I think you're tapping into why. Part of his world, and I love this one, really good crime stories. I love it when they don't tell you more than a detective can possibly know. You're never going to know what's inside somebody else's head.
Yeah.
And he doesn't either.
Except that
just
first
running
guy.
On hunches. Sure.
Right.
Oh, that's awful. Oh, that's funny. Oh my God. What the fuck? What was I saying?
You know that
you never know what's inside their head.
I like that the women have 2 different ideas, and one of them dies too soon for us to know if that was her genuine belief. She seemed pretty earnest to me in that booth at the bar. She seemed upset. She seemed like she was telling the truth, but he didn't believe her.
Right.
And we know that she could have been motivated.
I think he believed her. I just think he
down.
needed more information. I feel like he was like,
Maybe.
You called me all the way here, and I don't know.
But either way, you're not positive. Right.
Yeah,
we don't really,
correct.
he doesn't have it. He can't check up on it. And then he goes and has the other interview. And what's the 2 people who probably have the most information about the death of the person who lights this whole story on fire at the very beginning, we're never actually going to know how he felt or how they actually felt. Right. And I love that. It has nothing to really do with that.
Yeah.
It's because eventually
all you find out is what them speculating on why he did it. And that's it.
So eventually, this is the question I'm getting to. Is all of that wonderful fun? I know you said, Dave, there's no preamble, but I'm wondering if that exposition, that stuff right there, is greasing the wheels. It's getting everything ready. And then when they kill this guy's wife, it becomes a revenge story.
Yeah.
Does it switch?
And it pivots, yeah. And
yeah.
Because he probably just didn't like being
you definitely
the mob,
sitting there,
right? It was probably that simple. Because she, he probably was just like he didn't want to be at the mob. She probably convinced him to kill himself. Like she probably was, and he was like, "Fuck it, I'm out." I don't know. I don't know though. I don't know. But yes, but of course it became a revenge story. But it's cool when that happens on screen. It's like you don't want to just play the scene. We want to discover what the motivation is. You don't want to know from the beginning.
Well, I'll tell you when the wife is killed and it becomes a revenge story. I was watching it with my wife, and she was like,
"Happy Father,"
hands on her mouth, surprised. She did not see that coming at all.
I think Elizabeth said that woman's about to get blown up. Like when they were, when they were in the house. We
thought she was going to get shot or kidnapped or something. But yeah,
are you talking about Banyan's wife?
Yeah, when the car went off, I was like,
when they were happy and you heard the music and everything, and I was like, "Where's this music been?"
We kind of knew she was toast at some point. But
and obviously our lead was okay. Wait, were you surprised by the? I didn't realize that the inspiration for Two-Face happened in this movie. I didn't know. Like I said, this is the first. We haven't talked about that. First of all, he gives her a gun and then runs out of the apartment without fucking closing the door. You literally just gave this psychopath woman a gun, and there's other psychopaths that are after her, and you just kept the door open and you left after knowing all these people are around?
That's my question, and I'd like to know from the novelization. It's like, did he leave that intentionally? Or did he give it to her for protection? Because he certainly gave her a lot of fucking information about exactly who to point that at, and then left the gun on the bed and walked out.
Look, I watched a lot of Formula One. There's plan A, plan B, plan C. I feel like he was like, plan A is it's protection. Plan B is he kills this woman and she deserves it, and I'm okay with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's zero in on that for a second, because I also felt like that was what made this movie really special. A lot of times in archetypes of film noir, which this might take us away from that in your defense, Jeff, you said, is this film noir or not? There are no femme fatales in this movie, which I love.
She kind of was, but she wasn't your typical femme fatales.
She gets pretty fatale by the end of it.
But your femme fatale usually is early on, and they're not usually a victim. They're not usually a victim, right?
Usually femme fatale, and I'm kind of defining this myself, but it's based on what I've read and what I've seen over the years. They're usually someone who is manipulating your lead character.
Yeah.
It is somebody who is going to drive them into a place of doubt, suspicion, decline. And they have to overcome their love, lust, whatever it is, for the woman to actually do the right thing.
She convinced him to get her a hotel room, and she convinced him to give him a gun, or give her a gun. I don't know.
But I don't know. I guess you made a comment about earlier as being one of your favorite quotes. I just want to give it up and say that I also loved, and maybe it's not necessarily subversion, but I loved that this movie ended up kind of riding on a woman who out of her mouth justifies and rationalizes why she's living the life she's leading. And then her threshold for violence, because she admits already up to that point, he puts his hands on me sometimes, so I usually just don't say those things. Why didn't you do anything at the bar when he burned that other woman's hand? She's like, because I'm going to get my ass kicked. It's not worth it. He crosses the line. Lee Marvin, her bad politician lover, crosses the line and does something what she feels is horrific. And maybe there's vanity involved in there. It's on the face. It's a burn. I definitely think that's an element of it.
Yeah.
Pretty fucking personal. But I like that it ended up being... I like that there was a part of this story that ended up being about these women, their motivation in terms of trying to get what they felt was theirs if their men are going to be involved in this kind of bullshit, them trying to seize what is theirs. And ultimately, they ended up having the most consequence on the story. Other than his wife being murdered, gangland style. The killing and the consequence of the actual fulcrums of what happens next are all because of the widow and because of her character, the Gloria Graham's character, Debbie Marsh, Lee Marvin's politician's girl.
Yeah, Stone's girl.
I don't know. I felt that was really refreshing to see that, and it made you ask questions like you're asking, Dave. Like, how much of this is him trying to plant these seeds so that these women will actually do, like, going back to morality, the right thing, and either try to confess, if you're talking about the widow, or to hold their man accountable legally or.
Well, even then, what I was talking about earlier,
Debbie Marsh.
He basically put the decision in her hands. He left the gun on the bed and walked away and left the door open.
Well,
it's like whether she took it or not was a character decision. So again,
and the door open, dude.
Yeah,
the door's like the metaphor, right? It's just right there.
Also,
right?
She had already said, "Sitting here thinking's pretty rough when you've spent most of your life not thinking." And then he gives her a gun and leaves the door open. I mean, so you guys, that's what I mean. This is one of those movies where we could talk ourselves into a corner, or we could just say it's just like your every other movie. But it inspired every other movie because of the reasons that we're saying, because we don't know the answers to any of this shit. And I think that's pretty cool. I think we should start wrapping it up just based on the length of the conversation. But
the writing is definitely top notch in this. I will say.
I think it is. So even if the women are overwritten and they have to be a little uber dramatic, it's 1953.
Yeah,
I feel like it's actually,
and that was a performance that was common of the era as well. So I guess I'm being a bit tough on it. Whereas it's done. I should
but it's important to know, because even though we said it in the context of what it's in, it's important to know, like, should people actually spend their time watching this?
I do want to know, in 53, was there a big blood drive? Like,
I don't know if they did blood drives the way that they did right now.
Donate blood signs everywhere in the background of this thing.
Well, I think in the war it was. So I think that's probably. So I think that's just something that they're
Korea. Yeah.
So maybe it's just
say, I would have watched like a series of movies starring Sergeant Dave Banyan. I feel like that character was so awesome.
Yeah. How did
I know he's living in a disgusting town, so there's probably more justice to be done. And man, I would have liked to have seen.
How did we get 8 Thin Mans but only 1 Sergeant Banyan?
Because that couple is hilarious in Thin Man, baby.
Yeah, but 8 of them, and there's one of these. Anyways, also, we should all share a scotch, a beer, and a cigarette with our wives while they're making us steak and potatoes, right? Happy Father's Day. Come on.
I'll say this about my wife. Elizabeth, we were joking about that. We
often a bit more like a mother of the
share our
also,
drinks.
Who'd you call? My mother. I love that
stuff.
response on the thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You share your drinks and your smokes.
No, that's great. I totally empathize with that. Like the way they were hanging out and taking a drink and a puff and splitting the scotch and the beer.
It's so fucking fun. Where she's coming taking his scotch. I
get shit stolen off my plate all the time. My wife has so many like fork imprints in her hand.
Yeah. I just love that. I always make, Angela's like, can you make me a drink? And then I make it. And then I like have a sense. She's like, are you drinking my drink? And I'm like, yes, you told me to make it. Like, of course I'm going to have some sips to make sure it's good. Anyway, all right.
Poor Sergeant Dave. Oh, wait. I just want to ask one quick question. Dave, what question did you say you wanted to bring up?
Oh, that was
because I thought you were alluding.
Or was it about the porn?
Of when he left the gun on the bed?
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, I thought it was about putting his kid away across town with his friends. Or
literally about did he wind her up and point her, or was it that completely?
That looks like a sex crime to me. Also, if anybody wants to go ahead and rewatch something, if you just rented it and you came here, the establishing shot of the bar glasses at 9:29, where you see the glasses and then you scan the glasses that like are dirty, so you know it's been there for a while, and he needs the call at a certain time and everything, and it's 9:28. You show the clock, and it's all in one shot. I mean, it's like this is decades before one-ers were a big thing. To put all of that into one frame, I thought it was really special. I thought that was really cool.
There's so many of those.
Where he said, call me at 9:30, and you see him at 9:29. They show the clock, and they show the glasses. And then there's also multiple points of focus during this little one-shot take. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, dude. This was really, I don't know, this really blew me away. I think it deserves its IMDb rating. I can't believe I had not seen it before. Man. Can't recommend it enough.
Who'd you call? My mother. When he's like waiting, when the guy's waiting. I thought that Banyan was so cool. He's like, I'm leaving. And then the guy calls right away. Who'd you call? My mom. I thought it was so great. Anyway. All right, you really knuckleheads. We got to spin the wheel for next week, which might be 2 weeks. Who knows? But,
Wait, hold on, real fast. Jeff, did you think Michael Lagana looked like Michael Stuhl? That's his name, right? Stuhlberg. Right? He looks so similar to him.
Yes, you're right. And he's equally suspicious. He
looked like his character in
equally suspicious.
Boardwalk. In Boardwalk Empire. Oh man, Rothman.
Stuhlberg's great.
Rothman. Yeah, man.
Oscar nominee for Call Me by Your Name. I mean, come on, let's go. Okay, spin. John, you got a guess? We went way back in time this time. I bet you it's gonna be more current.
89.
2008. Shit, we've already done 8. It's not going to be 8.
Well, you're wrong anyway.
1940?
Oh.
8?
Go backwards.
Oh, boy.
Oh, John, you just
flipped going to be some good movies.
1948, right after World War II. We're not going to sit here and Google movies, but we will do that on our break in 2 seconds when you listen to some Dasein. But we got to do what you've been watching. I have my Gripe plan, but I go last. Dave, we like to start with you. What would you like to say?
You know what I found, and I didn't know existed? On Max this week, I found the movie Chronicle, the director's cut.
I'd say
there's a director's cut?
Yeah, it's like 5 minutes longer.
This is the sci-fi movie from the aughts with like the
3 kids, yeah.
I liked that movie. Yeah.
I don't know, I'm still processing it. but I like that
Really?
movie as well. I think it improved on it.
I was going to say, dude, I haven't seen the movie at all. I haven't seen the theatrical cut in maybe over a decade.
Yeah.
So I might want to revisit that as well.
Well, there's a director's cut sitting there now. That's all I got.
Where is it?
I think that one's on Max.
Okay,
Interesting.
cool. All right, I watched a few movies. I watched Jeff.
I love that John has notes. I love this. Go ahead. What'd you watch? Did you watch a Bourne?
I always forget what I watched. Shut the fuck up. I watched Top Gun Maverick because you mentioned it a couple
What do
weeks
you
ago.
mean, shut the fuck up? Fuck you. I watched a Bourne movie and you know that.
I should watch that.
Oh, I thought you said porn. I was like, fifth time we're going to mention porn. Porn is awesome.
But not real, kids.
Jesus Christ. I do want to watch all the Bourne movies now, though. That is on my list. Now that you texted me, and I was like, watch all of them and tell me if it's awesome. I watched Top Gun Maverick, which was like headphones on. It was a late night watch. I was in bed.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so emotional. God, it's so good.
It's so good.
Satisfying for that big kind of commercial.
You know what my
thing.
favorite part of that movie is? I didn't say this last time. You know what my favorite part of that movie is? Now that I watched it again,
I haven't seen it.
When he does it, when Maverick does it, when Maverick, fuck you, Dave. When Maverick does it, in the test, right before the scene with John Hamm, where he was like, you flew the plane in such a way we can never, whatever. And you have Glenn Powell, the cocky motherfucker, and he has this right. That's it. He just goes, damn. And he does it in a way that's like, holy shit. He just says, damn. And it's like, it's the best damn I've ever seen in a movie. It's so good. Damn.
It is so good. And I'm so glad you said that because like I was literally watching, I rewound it because I really enjoyed that moment again as well. And it just, as actors, you think no small parts. I only have this line in this scene. I thought it was, that can really make a fucking difference. When
Huge.
Just nail those moments, folks.
When the cockiest motherfucker in the world just watches Maverick do this and all he does is go, damn, with a smile on his face. It's great. Like, it just makes Maverick cooler. It makes him even cooler. I think it's awesome.
And it made me connect the dots to when he's not chosen for when he's in the pilot.
He has the respect for him.
As a reserve person. And he's like, yeah.
He's not sitting there going, what the fuck is this guy doing? He's like, well, he's the best and he decided not to choose me and shit. And that hurt.
Really good. So I watched that. This rewatch was so much fun. I watched Speed for the first time in like 20
Not Speed 2, like our old episode.
Years.
It's never not fun.
It's still so good.
It's still
so
quote that movie.
Keanu's coming to Broadway, baby.
God.
Keanu's coming to Broadway.
Dude, Dennis Hopper is so good at it. Everything is so... Keanu's good at it. The whole movie, I was blown away. I had so much fun.
Waiting for Godot.
So much fun watching that. And then I also watched the first 3 episodes of Andor. Excited to keep going. I don't really have any thoughts on it.
That's where I was,
it was
too.
fun.
I'm done now. I've finished it.
And Dave?
Okay. So I want to keep going. Dave,
did you like it?
Did you like
the finish?
Dave? Feel like it?
I liked it right up to the very end. I feel like the last few scenes...
Okay. Forget I said anything.
I watched the Oscar movie from last year, which I was finally ready to... I think it's on Hulu. I'm Still Here, the Brazilian film.
Sure.
A little close to home, you guys. I was uneasy watching that. That was about disappearing in a dictatorial government. But it's worth watching for sure. That is a moving film, especially of our times. And Churchill at War, which is a Imagine docu-series.
Whoa.
So Ron Howard and Glazer are producing it. But it is wonderful, colorized. They admit this, they use some AI to have some recordings of Churchill's speeches. So there's these great recordings moving throughout, and some reenactments. If you're into World War II at all, if you're
Dave could do that right now.
I'm loving it. It's
Dave
fun.
could take some Churchill speeches, use his AI, and then take his writing and take that AI.
I actually almost used it the other day for something, but it was to replace, like, to learn an artist's voice and then replace their recording that had a lot of noise with the perfect voice, which is probably the only acceptable version, used for AI.
Did they give you permission to do that?
Well, yeah.
The artist?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was very upfront about it.
That's also important.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I was like,
of course.
I want to try this to see if it works. And they were like, yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Because it's their voice.
World War II. I love World War II. Okay. Yes, I do. That's why I don't need any more of it. Okay. I watched Born Supremacy and I loved it. I Ultimatum and Identity came back to me very quickly. So I watched, and of course I remembered as soon as it came back, but it was fucking so fun. It's so good.
Gosh, they're so fucking good.
I feel like we watched some series. We watched the Beast Boys documentary on Disney Plus. yesterday because of Brian Wilson's passing, and that's pretty cool. I mean, obviously it's Disney Plus, so it's not the most rigid thing in the world, but it's great. They got some good interviews if you just want to get some Brian Wilson content going.
Nice.
But Gripe. Okay, cool. Start the 1 minute Gripe timer.
Go.
Okay, so I started watching Stick, which is the Owen Wilson golf series that's on Apple TV Plus. And here's all I got to say.
F. Murray.
Yeah. I haven't seen F. Murray Abraham in this yet, but Maron's in it for sure. Anyway, if you were going to take something that would have easily been a movie 20, 30 years ago, I don't know about 10 years, maybe 10 years ago, it just wouldn't have happened. I feel like these companies still think the best thing to do is to just add scenes to make the characters more relatable. But I'm going to tell you straight up, I just fast forwarded through a lot of these scenes. Because what was happening was...
Are you serious?
Yes, because a lot of these scenes is shit that we already know. Now, for instance, if you sit there and you have a kid who's a great golfer who hasn't played since he's 14 and now he's 18, and you say, well, his last coach made him hate golf. Who's his last coach? His dad. And I see his reaction to it. I don't need another scene where the mom goes, look, I know your dad made you hate golf, in their bedroom later. And it's like, but mom, you don't understand. No, I don't need another scene about it. Just move the fuck on. Like, I think people, I'm going to keep going. I think people think that it's going to add more content. But the honest to God truth is, even though we're talking about golf and we're talking about these two specific characters, it's the most generic scene in the world, and it's predictable. We know this stuff. How many times have we talked on this podcast, like with Benicio del Toro for Sicario comes to mind, where he was like, cut this dialogue. I can get that in a single look. Why would I say this line, right? There's just full scenes. And you know what it ends up being? This it's a golf movie about a guy that used to be a good golfer who had a nervous breakdown on a golf course and stopped playing and found this kid and decided to be his coach and manager. Again, and it's such an obvious movie. And instead, it is so depressing. And they're obviously writing to Owen Wilson. All these Apple TV shows, whether it's John Hamm or Owen Wilson or Vince Vaughn, they're clearly writing to their voices. Like they're not even like they're saying like, you speak. I feel like they're AIing themselves.
It would not surprise me if they're saying, oh, we've got this movie, and they're like, well, can you make it a series? Because that'll get people to stick around and pay for more memberships.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, maybe you're right.
That's probably a push.
Honest to God, I'm just straight up fucking fast forwarding through a lot of these scenes because I'm like, can I get to the goddamn golf yet? We know what this show is about. I don't need the mom to go to the bank and try to talk about how she's going to invest her money. I just don't need that. I don't need any of this. Just move forward. Like, just move on. And they're just writing fluff, and they think it's so specific because there's these characters, and they're writing the most generic scenes that literally you can just change some pronouns and names, and it could be in any series of anything of all time. So Stick is a perfectly fine show if you fast forward through the shit. I just don't know how else to say it. That's my gripe. Okay, I'll drink for that. But honestly, that goes... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I haven't seen it, but I think anyone who is watching television right now is noticing. We've seen too much good TV now. So we're noticing when things aren't necessary and when they're not compelling and when they're not making us need to watch what's happening next.
This first episode is so depressing because you just make him seem like the biggest fucking loser in the world. This is Owen Wilson. And it's like, maybe you can pull that off if it's hilarious, which it's not. And then at the end of it, there's this kid who's the best golfer in the world. So it's basically like, what if you could see Chubbs' backstory? You know what I mean? That's basically what the show is. And we don't need Chubbs' backstory. I'm sorry, we don't need it. Yeah. I don't need to see Chubbs become a depressing loser. I don't need to see that. Why do they think that that's interesting to watch? Why do they think that that's good?
Is Chubbs the Mark Maron character, or is it the Owen Wilson character in your analogy?
Owen Wilson, 100%. 100%.
So it's not funny, sad. It's not the, hi, you've reached John.
No.
Whatever.
Yeah. No. It's not the, would you even call that the beginning of the third act of Wedding Crashers? I don't even know what you call that. But anyway.
Somewhere in there.
Anyway,
for sure,
so my gripe, but this is a broad thing. I noticed it specifically with Stick, and luckily my friends and neighbors pulled it off really well, where like all of a sudden when those things started to happen, actually the conversations were really deep. How did we become these people? That was interesting, but not in this series. Anyway. Okay, I'm ready to move on. What else did I watch? I watched a lot of shit. I don't care. Okay, Dave, I'll remember it and I'll tell you I watch it next time. Nothing new, nothing current.
Can we ask you guys just a question, just really fast on that idea? Because you both just acknowledged that you feel that it's true. More subscribers, more time. This is a dilemma that did not exist for the movies. It may be even the other way. They were like, keep them tight so we can have more show times.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you have any ideas on what this is going to do to storytelling? Because it's not making it better. And I think everyone agrees with that. I've heard
action.
I've heard so many people say that. I go into a meeting and I pitch a show and they say, can it be 4 episodes longer, 2 episodes longer? Can you get 4 more hours out of it? Can we have a second season? This happens all the time and it's not making storytelling better. So what do you think is going to happen here?
I mean,
I think the answer
I'd like to say eventually they'll realize it doesn't work and it just detracts from the actual, like, for lack of a better word, art of what you're making. But these guys don't seem to be learning because they're working off a balance sheet. They're working off a mission to increase subscribers, and that's it.
The only chance is action, because if you sat there and said, okay, he found the next great golfer, and so he's going to go from the best player ever to somebody who had a nervous breakdown, Chubbs had his hand bit off, so it's the same idea, to becoming the coach of the next bass player. So again, that's your Happy Gilmore analogy here. And you said, okay, cool, but he's not actually going to play a golf tournament until the end of episode 3. Okay, so what are we doing in the first 3 episodes? Well, we have to establish that the guy's a loser, and we have, it's like, wait, no, I don't need 3 episodes of that. I don't need 3 episodes of this guy's a loser. Sequence. And how do you convince this kid to play again? I just don't need, because, they throw a jail sequence where he goes to jail to prove he's not trustworthy, and then they have to convince him, oh, no, he's okay, even though he went to jail. And they're just, it's like, no, if you sit there and be like, this show is about this guy finding the next kid, and you're like, you're going to wait 3 episodes, you better give me some goddamn action. I don't know what that is, but it can't just be convincing people for 3 episodes. It has to be action. I would take a long Wikipedia entry where it's action, then explaining shit. That's what I would take.
I totally agree. I just wanted to point out, I think it's really interesting. This has never happened before.
Right.
It's the first time that they're asking creators to do that. And I don't understand, other than the monetary motivation, how they think they're actually going to achieve long-term monetary goals if you're not actually making things better. Where's the argument used to always be, get to the point faster. We're going to sell more tickets if people can tell this story in a single sentence, which that's another fight, you know, but it's so unique. We have never been here before. These past 10 years have changed everything.
I'm with you.
So weird.
I know.
Anyway, okay.
Also, I watched that Titanic submersible thing on Netflix. I would watch it. It's so fucked up. You got to watch it. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. Yeah. Well,
Titan
yeah, it's the
sub,
same idea. So the Titan is the sub that goes to visit the Titanic. And let's just say they put camera, because they're using microfiber, and so the fibers are tearing, and you can literally hear them fucking breaking while they're underwater. And the guy who's the CEO just says, that's fine. Oh. It's like, you got to see it. It's so crazy. It's like, it's so obvious that a sub is going to explode. Everybody who's piloting it leaves the company, and they say, this is unsafe. This is unsafe. It is unbelievable. I can't believe that. Okay. We're going to take a 10-second break, listen to some Dasein, and then we're going to come back and tell you what movie from 1948 we're going to be talking about. See you soon, film fans. And we're back. Sorry. Let me do it again. No. We're back. Fuck, you can't keep talking in my back. You can't keep talking in my backswing.
And we're back.
We're back. Guys, we've been to 1948 before. We did High Noon. It's so amazing. You got to go back and listen to it. We're so excited about this film. We decided to pick another masterpiece. So we're doing 2 masterpieces from 1948. That's right. We're doing The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, which is a renter. We're so excited about it. In 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about it. The end of June, basically July 4th weekend, you're going to be getting it. 2025. Anything else you two knuckleheads want to say?
Nope.
Nope.
All right. Can't wait to talk about it then. See you next time, film fans.